about 2 months after TWA Flight 800 went down, I was contacted by Christina Borges, a producer, two-time Emmy Award-winning producer for CBS Reports in Manhattan, New York. And she asked if I would use Remote Viewing Technologies, the company, to employ police officers to augment their investigative efforts in search of the answers to what brought Flight 800 down. And so we have been training in remote viewing technologies we've been training police officers for about 2 years at that juncture. We had about 300 and some odd police officers trained. So we employed 60 police officers who were working pro bono across the country, and we scattered them purposely because we didn't want anybody to be able to identify specifically where they were or get to all 60 of them. And we used their remote viewing skills after we calibrated them. We used them against TWA Flight 800, going backwards in time to perceive an event, and that's all they knew. And we were trying to see what kinds of pieces of evidence they could pull out of the flight, what happened to the flight, where was the flight struck, what were the images, what were the perceptions of the events that took place that night. And the remote viewers all perceived elements of a missile and ships and water and aircraft and helicopters and other things, but probably the most critical thing that they pulled from all of this was about 80% of them saw something that they described as a rod of light, or others called it a beam of light that came from the ground, not the water. And in all of the profiles that they sketched of the aircraft, all of the impact points for this beam of light or rod of light were on the left-hand side of the aircraft, which did not support the missile theory. The missile theory was that the missile came from the water or from out in the water, from either a submarine or from a ship or something else, and that all of the points of impact would have been on the right-hand side. And so it caused us to look very carefully at where and what might have happened, where would this rod of light come from, or this beam of light. And then we started looking at the lay of the land and identified Brookhaven National Labs and a top-secret naval weapons test facility that shared a fence line with the National Laboratory. We started asking individuals that worked at the labs what was going on there, what was being tested, and gradually we came to individual sources that indicated to us that the weapon that was being tested the night that Flight 800 was struck was a high-powered microwave weapon, a directed energy weapon being built in support of the Strategic Defense Initiative. And it was a weapon that produced 1.4 gigawatts of power, that's a billion watts of power, in a concentrated stream of electrons guided by a self-generated electromagnetic field. And that weapon has an electromagnetic pulse effect. That's what it kills with. And it's designed to kill systems. And that night, a drone Tomahawk missile was fired from the decks of the USS Normandy that was climbing up to altitude to be fired at by this high-powered microwave weapon when TWA Flight 800 came in a flight corridor that was established by the FAA because this test was going on. This corridor was codenamed Betty. And TWA Flight 800 came into what is called the gun target line. They came in between Brookhaven National Labs, where the weapons system was located, and the drone Tomahawk missile, which was going to be fired on by the HPM weapon. After all of this was brought to bear, there was a large report that was prepared. It was presented to CBS. The CBS executives refused to do the report. The producer was subsequently fired. The offices were raided by the FBI on all of the investigative data that we pulled in after about 4 months of work and 4 months of remote viewing work that just continued to augment the investigative effort from this small team for CBS Reports. So the whole project was scrapped by CBS. The CBS is owned by GE. GE has a subsidiary, which is Philips Labs, which has now been sold off to as a foreign corporation. But Philips was the weapons designer. The Philips Labs built the high-powered microwave weapon that was being built in support of the SDI initiative. And the reason the whole thing was covered up was because on May 17, 1993, Les Aspin, the Secretary of Defense for the Clinton administration, the brand new Clinton administration, declared to the American people that we were at the, quote, end of the Star Wars era, end quote, meaning that we were now no longer going to continue to build weapons that would be put on platforms and placed in orbit around our planet to kill satellites or to kill intercontinental ballistic missiles at the boost phase or post-boost phase.